waking you up. He is.
Just the inspiration for the chair.
A little shift. All right, good evening. Welcome to the Thursday, June 8th meeting of this Monomoy Regional School Committee. Call the meeting to order at 6:31. And the first order of business is the approval of the May 25th minutes.
So move.
Thank you. Anybody like to second that?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion is unanimous. Thank you. And next order of business is public comment. Is anybody here for public comment? Seeing no one, we're going to skip on down to a spotlight on Chatham Elementary or just Harwich Elementary. Just Harwich Elementary. Hi, guys.
Hello, my name is Malcolm Stafford and I'm one of the student representatives from Mrs. Maycomber's class. For the last month, 3rd and 4th grade have been working on math and MCAS, but because of technical difficulties, some students need to finish next week.
My name is Lillian Pierce, and I'm a 4th grade student council representative from Mr. Zabelski's class. In our school, students are required to follow the fantastic expectations. That means we must be respectful, responsible, safe, and ready to learn wherever we go in the school. For example, being fantastic in the hallway would mean we are respectful by being quiet so other classrooms can have no interruptions. We are responsible by making sure we make good choices on who we are near in line. We are safe by keeping our hands and feet to ourselves. And we are ready to learn if our teacher has to give us a certain instruction.
A reward for being fantastic at Harwich Elementary School filled their fish tank. A reward for that was to have the world's fastest painter, Rob Surratt, come to our school. He painted for us and talked to us. He even offered to repaint some of the pictures in our school because they are about 10 years old.
Yesterday was an exciting day for all 4th graders, and that's because it was step-up day. 4th graders got the opportunity to go to the middle school, meet some possible homeroom teachers, and get to know a couple of UAs as well.
We also had something Harwich Elementary School kids have been waiting for all year. That is field day. There were many fun games there to play, like kickball, tug-of-war, and wiffle ball. The Harwich police came with a speed gun to see how fast we could pitch. The fire department even came with a ladder truck to spray us with water at the end of field day. There were 2 parts to field day for 4th grade and 3rd grade. The 2 grades were separate for the first part, and then they came together in the second part and competed.
To close off the school year, 4th grade is having a week called Spirit Week. This is a week when 4th graders dress to a theme that is different every day. These themes include Hawaiian Day, Formal Day, Red, White, and Blue Day, Occupation Day, and Twin Day. To close off our time at HES, we will also be having a final assembly June 20th. 4th graders will definitely remember their memorable experience at this wonderful school. Does anyone have any questions regarding any of the topics we have discussed?
Anybody have any questions?
I wouldn't dare.
Could you guys do me a favor and introduce yourselves again with your names, please?
My name is Malcolm Stafford.
My name is Zach Vaginas.
And I'm Lillian Pierce.
Thank you very much.
Great job. Good
Great job. All right. Tough act to follow, Grace. Can you handle it?
Hello, my name is Grace Boyle, and I'm a junior at Monomoy, back once again to tell you about all the wonderful things happening here at the high school. As you all know, the seniors have departed and are now off in the real world doing a job or trade, going to the military, or have a college that they will attend in the fall. Leading up to the final day of the graduation, the seniors were lucky to have an awesome month before they left, which celebrated them in a number of ways. First, there was Senior Arts Night, where seniors who performed outstandingly in the visual or musical arts were showcased. This included a great art show at the Art Gallery on Main Street in Harwich, which included pottery, photographs, paintings, drawings, and more. People departed around 7 to get to the concert portion of the night held at the church on Main Street in Harwich. A number of wonderful songs were performed, some vocally and some instrumentally. Juniors Matt Geary and Jacob Poitras joined senior Christian Pavlakis to sing You're Gonna Live Forever in Me by John Mayer, which was featured at graduation. All in all, it was a beautiful production and highlighted the talented class. Senior Week was also a great success. Spirit was shown throughout the class of 2017, representing their roots in Harwich and Chatham with shirts and sweatshirts, and then flashing their new college attire or trade or military attire to represent their future. This included no senior prank, which kept Monomoy off Fox News, which was really good. Senior Beach Day, not Senior Skip Day, was on Friday. The Harwich Police and Fire were generous enough to donate lunch and cook the hot dogs and hamburgers for everyone there. This is a great tradition that allows students to avoid being marked absent and still have the essence of a Senior Skip Day. After finals came Convocation Night, where over $270,000 worth of scholarships were awarded to people who had worked so hard all throughout their high school careers. I cannot stress how lucky we are to live in such an altruistic community that encourages and facilitates higher education for its students. Finally, after a week of practice, graduation was upon Monomoy Regional High School. Tears were shed, smiles were beamed, and the overall feeling was something that valedictorian Colleen Cronin highlighted in her speech: gratitude. Everyone was so thankful for such an amazing high school experience with teachers who really care and peers that they now have an unbreakable bond with, whether they like it or not. Cronin ended up with a clean sweep, being awarded valedictorian as well as the Ad Lucem Award, along with Jack Watson. Great speeches were made by students, including Hannah Potter and Alec Pavlakis, that reminisced in the good, the bad, and the ugly of both Harwich High, Chatham High, and then as Sharks. Overall, the ceremony was flawless, and despite having massive heels, there was no falling, and it went really well. Before the seniors left, the National Honor Society hosted their induction ceremony at the school. Over 20 new members received their pin signifying their membership, and so far only one person has lost their pin, and he actually found it today, so that's good. Cake was enjoyed after the ceremony in the lunchroom, and the old officers said their final goodbyes. Elections were held today for the opening positions for each new office, with a total of 8 people who ran with speeches. The anticipated result will be officially given tomorrow. Also, Student Council has been making waves at Monomoy. After the leadership lock-in in the fall, we have been trying to think of ways to maintain and intensify the themes that we saw there at the lock-in. Student Council decided to post the acrostic poems that we did at the lock-in that describe a Monomoy student, including words like hardworking and altruistic, on decorated wooden sharks around the school. We worked collaboratively with the junior class on this project, as the advisors for the class of 2018 actually obtained the sharks. These are supposed to be posted up around the school sometime in the next 2 weeks, and will be a great reminder of the criteria that we actively work to uphold as Sharks. Global Studies is also up and running. The upcoming seniors are working hard to get everything set up for next year regarding websites, blogs, and advisors. Each individual will be getting their own advisor from the community, which is really cool. I'm lucky enough to have a lead on an advisor in the community who worked internationally, which will help with my senior capstone project. We have also began to plan our service trip, which everyone is really, really excited about. It'll be a great opportunity if it's approved, hint, hint. This will allow us to get out of such a secluded region and really broaden our horizons, learn, and make a difference in the helping of the community. In addition, last night softball unfortunately ended their tournament run, but they made one of the longest runs in Monomoy softball history. They were the champions of their league and also got a police escort back to the school. These outstanding girls have worked ridiculously hard every day, not just during the softball season, but in many cases all year long, to achieve what they did. I cannot commend them enough, as they make a really positive name for Monomoy sports, athletically and regarding character. Lastly, today was the day of class elections. Every class got to go to the auditorium to hear brief speeches from each candidate. Tomorrow, they will cast their votes and hear the results at the end of the day. Today, however, people went around campaigning positively, using bribes such as cupcakes or lollipops, and beaming smiles all around. One might say this is just politics, but I got an overwhelming sense of positivity and 2 cupcakes out of it, so I am content. The whole process was organized each year by Mr. Dixon, who always makes sure that it's executed without any problems, and we can't thank him enough for that. This year's class officers for the junior class, who are presenting to you tonight, all ran unopposed completely this year and are officially locked in for next year as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Grace?
Grace, the fall lock-in, who gets invited to attend, and what's the purpose or the goal of the lock-in?
The leadership lock-in is something put on by the peer leads class, which is Ms. Chalaka's health class, composed of juniors and seniors, and people who are invited that have shown the strive to lead throughout the school. So a lot of class officers are invited, and then people who are going out and trying to make a change in the school. I don't know who actually picks who gets to go, but yeah, it's mostly just the leaders that we see in the school. Yes.
I just have to say that not only was your information factual, but I love the little things about the heels and
Thank you.
and some of these other points that you brought up. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else? Thank you very
Thank
much,
you
Grace.
so
Good
much.
job, Grace.
All right, next up is recognitions. Mr. Carpenter.
I have a few. I just want to first recognize the Peter and Elizabeth Tower Foundation for a $3,200 grant for the Save a Life Tour to be presented to students in October 2017. And then I would just also like to recognize Mr. Burkhead's staff for their success in putting together a fabulous graduation. Mother Nature definitely also played a nice role in providing some great weather, but there was a lot of planning that went into that. I think it's also clear the planning that's been going into the step-up days, both for stepping up from the elementary schools into the middle school and middle school to the high school. I know my own daughter came home yesterday and really excited about the possibilities that are awaiting her next year here at the high school in her step-up day. And meanwhile, we had all the elementary fourth graders coming through the hallways over at the middle school, and Principal Wilson and Assistant Principal O'Shea meeting with parents last night, and I got an email just raving about the energy that was there at the meeting last night, and just just those that are so looking forward to stepping up from elementary school into middle school. So thank you for all of those that put such time and energy into that organization.
Thank you. Ms. Richardson?
Could I just add that I thoroughly wanted to give kudos to the high school, Mr. Burkhead and the staff and all that arranged a wonderful graduation. I was happened to get there early, and it was amazing the number of details that go into that. And that was only this much that I saw. But also it just is a great example of hope for the future. And I was there with my camera and took some pictures, and I'm going to yank out some of those pictures when we have some maybe down days on our committee or struggles with policies or whatnot. It was just a great day, and I wanted to just say that.
Thank you. I would agree. The graduation it's always one of the highlights of the year, to be able to go to the graduations and watch the energy there. Next up on our agenda, there is a note in there that we're going to take a brief recess. Down the hall is a joint performance of the middle school and the high school, but I was informed that joint part is not going to happen until about 8 o'clock. So the goal is to be finished with our meeting by 8 o'clock, so we won't have to recess. We'll just adjourn down there. So let's go. So moving along to discussions. We have the Monomoy Regional High School Global Studies trip to the Dominican Republic for February of 18.
Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth Hoff, and I am here tonight to kind of introduce the Dominican Republic trip that Grace had mentioned in her speech, but I'm actually going to turn the presentation over to Ashley Shoemaker, who is a member of the new Global Studies Initiative, a student in the program, who's been working with Mr. Dixon, who's actually going to be, he's the leader of the trip, and we've kind of been discussing service learning opportunities, and the students in the school community have indicated that they are interested in going to the Dominican to do this service learning requirement because we have so many Dominicans in our school, and it would just be a great way to connect with them and connect with them, and also to bring bring the cultures together and just make it more applicable and more 21st century, where we're combining these cultures and really honoring them. So I'm going to have Ashley give her presentation, and then we can answer some questions when she's done.
Hi, I'm Ashley, and I'm a 9th grader at Monomoy Regional High School. And like Ms. Hoff said, I'm a member of the Global Studies program. And so we were thinking of doing a Dominican Republic service trip. So as you can see, we'd spent 6.5 days working on the Dominican Republic Education and Mentoring Project, which they call Dream There. And on the trip, activities include surfing, visit to El Choco National Park, and snorkeling. Sounds really fun if you ask me. Waterfalls, a boat ride down the Yasica River, and local barbecues. The program is operated by ACIS, American Council for International Studies, known for offering high-quality experiences. And we've compared this company with other companies, and we've learned that they do a lot better, and they provide meals for the whole trip, so you don't have to pay for that. And it's just they have better reviews. So the cost is $2,679 per person if registered by July 1st with a $200 deposit. We plan to fundraise as a group with goals of raising $1,000 per student and offering opportunities for individual fundraising as well. We hope to offer need-based assistance as well. Students will participate in the Environmental Service Project for at-risk youth in partnership with the DREAM Project. And depends on what problem is going on there, and the Dominican at the time when we go, and students will learn about Dominican history and culture. So it's offered to grades 9 through 11, and it's estimated 24 students with 4 chaperones, but in the actual program, more than 30 students have expressed interest. So, like I said before, all meals are provided, and students will need passports, of course, because we're going to another country. And students will participate in many water activities, swimming, surfing, and snorkeling. So we would want them to know how to swim. Families will want to make sure students are properly vaccinated. And the CDC recommends hepatitis A and typhoid in addition to usual vaccinations. So we hope they'd be up to date with their shots. And each student will make medical decisions in consultation with their physician. Yeah, so that's it. But like I said, I hope you consider it because, like Ms. Hoff said, I think it'd be really good to learn about more of the culture there. And I feel that a lot of people would have fun on this trip and learn, because learning is good too. Do you have any questions?
Questions? Ms. Ryder?
Hi. You said this is a service trip, and you had mentioned that it depends on the problem at the time we go there as far as what you'd be doing, but do you have some more information on that? You've mentioned, snorkeling and surfing and so forth, but what about the service part of it? I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. The service part, On the website, they had examples of like building homes for people and taking care of the children there. But those are just a few examples. Of course, it depends, like I said, on the time. But we would have to contact them when it gets closer to February next year to know like what problems they have and that we could help fix it.
So there are 6 half-days of service, and then you have 6 half-days of other activities, is that it? Sorry, what is the total time frame?
The total time frame is 8 days. So like the 6 half days means that for 6 days in the morning we'd be doing the community service, and then in the afternoon we would be doing like the fun activities like snorkeling and surfing.
Okay.
And I think the first day and like the last day is like the plane ride and getting there. Yeah.
Ms. Richardson?
It seems to me like $2,700 per person or close to that is a lot of money. I was wondering what the accommodations were.
Yes. I think it's hotels, but it didn't really say like where exactly the hotels would be, so I'd have to get back to you on that.
And would you know then, probably while you're looking into that, how many would be in a room? How many students?
I believe, I think it's like 2 or 4.
It'd be 4 students.
Yeah,
per
4
room.
students per room.
And if I can, on the previous question, this program is known for using good hotels and not using more, not upscale, but not cheap hotels. One of the reasons why their programs do cost a little bit more. But we don't yet know. They haven't told us which hotels they will. I mean, once we're booked, then they'll start working on what hotels they'll be putting us in. So we don't know the specific hotels yet. And similar in terms of the project, Ms. Ryder's question, we will be working with that organization, DREAM, and they know that. But it's as we get closer, maybe about a month out, then they'll have a better idea about what programs they have going on that they could use help in. They won't know this far out as to what specific project they can use help in.
Mr. Duvall?
Part of that is you also get all their meals as part of that. All about it. That's big.
Not to forward a room.
Ms. Stepp?
So this is all new to us, and so I really appreciate your statements like you'll get back to us, because I don't expect you to know answers to everything, but maybe with a little help from my friends you might. As far as the getting to know the culture goes, I don't have just a really good sense about this. The service project I'm clear about. Will you be going to any schools, or will you be meeting other kids your age that you can talk with?
Well, for the DREAM project, we'd be, I think, like the counselors that are in charge of the project, we'd be like one-on-one, or a couple to like a counselor, and they're Dominican, so we'd get to learn more about them and what it's like to live in that country. So that'd be part of the culture. And plus like swimming and surfing and snorkeling, that like also you're just surrounded by like all of the water and ecosystem.
And the other question I have is regarding the cost. It's regarding the cost on the 30. So I'm interested in how it might be decided if only 24 can go and 30 want to go, how that would work out, and also what if people cannot come up with all that money?
Yeah, I understand. Well, because 30 are interested, we don't really know if they will be by the time we need to have them registered, so that the number can go down. But as far as the price, I understand too. I don't know if I can pay that much money, but we're gonna do as much fundraising as possible, so that everyone has a chance to go.
Mr. Russell?
I'm sorry, could you give us your name again?
Oh, Ashley Shoemaker.
Ashley, I want to compliment you as a 9th grader, standing at the microphone and summarizing a brand-new program, even though you have Mr. Dixon as a backup. You're a credit. I'm very impressed with your calmness and directness to us.
Thank you.
Now my question.
It means it's going to be a doozy.
Actually, it's probably to Mr. Dixon. As we launch this global study, specifically the target of maybe beginning with a venture into the Dominican, with the youngsters who've been accepted to go and have paid and they're all set, will they have a charge or prior to leaving, will they have an opportunity with the teacher to get up-speeded regarding Dominica? I'm not expecting an elective course, but something that it just isn't a 10-day trip down where we can see if David Ortiz is there.
Hadn't thought about that. No, you're right. This is the first year of the program. This is our first global service trip. And one reason why we're doing in conjunction with the Spanish program, which has done trips before, was in Spain this year. So we have, Ms. Hoff's experience with the overseas trips as well to help. Absolutely, the intent of this is both to be doing the type of service work that we'll be doing there, but also to be learning about the Dominican. And so exactly how we're going to set up that program, just as you say, we won't have time to do a whole semester course on it. But we've been meeting once every cycle, JOSM as a program. We've got 30, 40 kids in my room every 7 days talking about issues about the trip, about other issues with global studies. And we will keep doing that next year, and we'll be certainly using that time to do some of that work to start to learn more about what we're going to be doing. And we're certainly going to spend a lot of time focused on this, as well as we're going to be spending a lot of time doing fundraising. And our next meeting is going to be Tuesday, and certainly fundraising is going to be a big part of that conversation, hopefully, with your approval.
Thanks, John.
Ms. Ryder?
Just a question about the meals. I'm assuming the meals are included. I'm assuming that that's part of the learning about the culture, that it's going to be local style meals?
Yeah, they reference a couple of them in that material, that there's a barbecue, let's see, an authentic fish and chicken barbecue using a fogone, a traditional Dominican stove, bonfire on the beach with the Dominican hosts that we've been working with there, things like that. So yeah, it's not McDonald's.
So lots of frijoles y plátanos and things like that?
Just yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else, any questions? Ms. Richardson?
I'm still, I'm not clear on the goals and exactly what's going to happen. Is it possible? I know you need to be in by July 1st to get some kind of a discount, and I hear some of the dialogue that's happening in your classrooms, but is there any way that could be made known to us? Because I feel I'm not sure what I'm voting on. I mean, other than giving permission for the trip.
Okay, I think what we're asking you to vote on is it's to give to authorize the trip, to give the students the opportunity for the myriad of enrichment activities that are going to come with being part of the trip. For many of them, it'll be their first time going overseas, being in a new culture, being in a culture which will speak a different language, doing service with at-risk youth in another country, eating local meals in another country, traveling around. Part of the culture work is in Santiago, which is, I believe, the second largest city in the Dominican. So this is our first time doing it. So I can't tell you exactly every opportunity that we're going to have. But I am confident that all of the activities are going to be incredibly enriching and rewarding for our students. So I don't feel like I can answer all of your questions because we haven't done this before. But we are confident, given the tour company we're working with, and given everything we've learned about the project, that this is going to be an incredible experience that our students are going to work really hard to make happen for themselves over the next 8 months.
Any other questions or comments? I personally, Ashley did a phenomenal job. I agree. And I also personally feel that any trip that gets the kids over the bridge, out of our bubble, is a cultural experience in itself. And going overseas, I think it's adding in the service learning projects in addition to just the cultural experiences, I think is educational.
And I also think, we live on Cape Cod, because I go to a school, that's predominantly white, and I don't think we get enough culture here. living on an island. So I feel like this trip we can expand our knowledge on like Dominicans and what it's like to live on a tropical island. And I feel like if we do this trip, we're not only getting culture, but also community service. And that in hand in hand, it's a win-win, if you ask me.
I appreciate you saying that. It's a great point. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So Ashley and Mr. Dixon and Ms. Hoff are looking for us to vote on this evening so that they can move forward with their meetings and their fundraising and try to get things going. So I would like to entertain a motion. Anyone?
I move that we approve the Monomoy Regional High School Global Studies trip to the Dominican Republic in February of 2018.
Thank you.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. Very good. Excellent. Next up is the Monomoy Regional High School trip to New York City in May of 2018. Right. I want to go back to high school.
I speak Spanish.
Hi, my name is Emma Mon. I'm a junior and I'm the class president of our class.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Grace Boyle and I'm the vice president of the class.
My name is Francesca Barr and I'm the treasurer of the class of 2018.
Hi, I'm Abby Sullivan. I'm the secretary of the class of 2018. Sorry, we're just pulling up our PowerPoint. It's not going to let me log in.
Do you have to go through this week? You just click the arrow.
Do you need some help?
There we go.
Mr. Russell will be happy to help you. Only if it involves hyperconvergence, right?
Touche.
Yeah, because it's this week.
Do you know her?
I'll just. You could share it with this week and have it. We don't want to pass it. It will work. Okay, I'm just gonna try this. Yeah. Maybe. There we go. All right.
Nice work.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to talk about our senior trip that we're hoping you're going to approve. So first, we'd like to start off by saying that we have a very, very well-rounded, responsible class. So as you can see, here's some pictures of us all working together. So we have some from some fundraisers we've done. You can see on the left, that's a powder puff. There's a car wash in the top right corner. And of course, our prom, which we just finished, which was a really fun time. So we're very united, and we have very limited issues between our classes, and we really do have a great group of kids.
We believe that the trip will go very well because we've tested it before. Both Harwich and Chatham Middle Schools, which is where we were very little, give us the opportunities to go on class trips in 8th grade. So Harwich went to New York City and Washington, D.C., and Chatham went to Washington, D.C., and as high schoolers, we've matured, and we feel like even though these went off without a hitch, that we will be able to bring this on into this trip. We also want to make sure that nothing will go wrong, so we have penalties for if something does. If a student is not in good standing academically or behaviorally, and this is going to be at Mr. Burkhead's discretion, they will not be able to attend the trip. And if there are any issues on the trip, they will not be able to walk on graduation day, which is like a big deal. So people won't do anything then.
So just to explain our trip, the goal is to have something that we can leave the school with the best memories possible and kind of come together for a final hurrah. So we want to celebrate all that we've worked hard. We've had numerous fundraisers each year, and we've had a really successful time kind of cutting together and making money for our class, and then all having it work towards prom. So now after prom, we have another goal, which is the New York and Six Flags trip.
All right, so this is an overview of the trip. I'm going to start with Saturday. We're leaving the high school at 7 a.m. We should get to New York City around 11:30, and then we get to sightsee throughout the day, do some window shopping, and see a lot of cool icons around the city. Then we go to Radio City Music Hall, where we get a really cool backstage tour. That should be super fun. Then we check into the hotel later that night. We're staying in New Jersey. And then at 7 o'clock, we board the Spirit of New Jersey for a dinner cruise around Manhattan, which is like a really good way. It's like our last dance, and it should be really fun.
Okay, so then on the second day, we'd wake up at around 7, and we'd hope to leave the hotel around 9 so that we can get to Six Flags. And at Six Flags, you have to pay for your own lunch, and then we stay till 6 o'clock at night, and we'd return home then, and ideally be home by 11:30 back at the school.
This is just a little bit about the cost of the trip. Gerber Tours, which we are doing the trip with, gave us a quote of $345 per person. This is without any other funding, but our class has worked really, really hard to raise a lot of money, and we projected that it's going to be about $150 per person if the whole 120 students attend. We are going to factor in who needs more financial aid so that the price won't be a burden on anyone. And the cost includes the hotel, transportation, 2 meals, admissions to Radio City Music Hall, and Six Flags, which is a lot for $150. And we are lucky enough to have 2 professional tour guides on hand throughout New York City.
So really to end it, we want to thank you for listening to us today, and that we hope you can see kind of what we're aiming to get at with our New York trip. Do you have any questions for us?
Any questions? Mr. Russell?
Emma, where is Six Flags geographically?
It's the one in New Jersey.
You're in Twilliquist, Emma. The boys came, it's fabulous, senior elective. It's in New Jersey.
It's the one in New Jersey, yes. So it's like on the way back from school, like
Good.
around.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Oh, yeah.
I just have a comment. I think that this is a fun thing. It's traditional to have some kind of fun thing for the class bonds, and I'm thrilled about the price that you've got this for.
Yes, thank you. We actually, after prom, right now, we still have almost $10,000 left in our fund, and we already have another like 4 fundraisers that are already pre-planned and that are set in stone for this upcoming year and the rest of this year. So we project that we'll have enough money to make that really happen, and we hope to take off the financial burden off of anybody that needs that, because we want everyone to be able to go that wants to. So.
Great, excellent. Any other questions or discussion? All right, and we are also looking for a vote on this trip as well. Entertain a motion for that.
I move to approve this trip.
Thank you.
Second, but one last question.
Discussion, Mr. Russell.
Beyond the 2 professional tour guides, would there be staff or parents joining you? Everyone nods their head.
Yeah, so we have our advisors who would be chaperones, and I believe that we're also expanding that to...
We already have
Can you come up?
4 teachers.
Can you come up to the...
4 teachers.
We also have 4 teachers who have shown interest, and we have 1 parent who's an EMT who has shown interest as a chaperone. So we've got all of that covered as well. We need about 10 chaperones, and we're at 6 already, a year ahead of time.
Terrific, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that's unanimous as well.
Excellent.
All right. Next up is the Monomoy High School Spanish Exchange Program update with Ms. Hall.
Hello again. I am thrilled to present an update on our exchange, the first exchange that we participated in with Spain. That came from a culmination of over 7 years of communication with a sister school in Spain. And we have some student representatives here tonight that I know you'd rather hear from. And I was thinking I had emailed you the presentation of our observations, and I thought I just might play it in the background as the students talk about their experiences. And tonight we are giving our review that, in my opinion, went better than we could have ever imagined, both on the U.S. side and on the Spanish side, but also to request to do this again in 2018, 2019. So I hope you'll take that into consideration as you hear from the students and the families. And I'll go ahead and start the slideshow. So we spent, it was a total of 16 days traveling, and we were a group of 16 students and 2 adults, and I think the most important aspect of this is that we were very well taken care of the entire time we were there, almost treated like royalty. We were met at the airport in Madrid. We were whisked off to a beautiful hotel in downtown Madrid, among all the hustle and bustle. We were then whisked right away to a churros y chocolate restaurant where we had to experience the tradition of eating churros dipped in chocolate. We were exposed to museums, the Prado Museum and the Palacio Real, and we were, luckily we were able to have front row seats to a traditional flamenco show. From Madrid, we then took a train to Vigo, where we were met with our exchange participants, and this is us in Madrid. And I just the students really filled this out. I mean, I said, what were your observations while we were there? We were, just some neat things we saw. How do you rate your toilet cleanliness? That was just kind of interesting. This is a picture of our hotel, and just some of the cultural comparisons and differences that a big surprise was that you actually had to put a key fob in a box on the wall to have any electricity in the room. There were no tissues anywhere. The toilets flushed differently, so on and so forth, and they can tell you more about that. Here's our churros y chocolate experience. Happy smiles about. Which, and the really nice thing is I want to reiterate is that everything that we experienced is also covered in the curriculum that I teach in my classroom. So we were able to really make that connection. We talk about the culture, we talk about these museums, we talk about air travel, train travel. We got to do it all. Shopping, family life, everything. I had mentioned to the students about something which happens during Easter time, during Semana Santa, these religious processions that you'll see. They're typically very somber experiences, and the participants will wear hoods. And for us, in our American culture, when we see that, we associate that with something negative. So I'm really thrilled that these students have an educated, cultured experience where they can dispel those myths and say that this is not a race, you know, anything associated with the KKK or anything like that. But I love that they're able to dispel those myths about that. Then we had our first experience with tapas, and we went to the Palacio Real and the Prado Museum, where they were really able to get some of the secrets, the ins and outs of what the artists, you know, what was going on at the time, historical perspectives, you know, little secrets that, you know, you'd really only know if you had this. We had a wonderful guided tour of the museum, so we weren't just passively walking by and looking at the art. We were really getting an insider's perspective. The flamenco dinner was phenomenal. We just really enjoyed the artistic expression, the passion, the tradition. I had never personally seen a male flamenco dancer. I'd seen them, you know, they usually play the instruments or clap in the background, but this was quite an experience. And then the Plaza de Toros was a really wonderful opportunity to see tradition. We didn't actually see a bullfight, but just to see, you know, the customs, the tradition. There was a museum there. We learned that there are female fighters in a predominantly male sport. We loved learning how they actually decide whether or not to kill the bull in the end, and just kind of the perspective of, you know, this day and age, this is still happening, and learning about the perspective from the actual madrileños, the people that live there. A lot of people are, of course, against it this day and age, but it is tradition. Then we spent some time in the Parque Retiro, which is a beautiful park in central Madrid, and it's a lot, you know, set up very much like Central Park. I can tell you about their experiences there. You can rent these small boats and go row around the water if you look old enough, I guess was the takeaway from that, if you look old enough. Then we took a train from the Chamartín train station to Vigo, which was about 6 hours, and here we are. We made a beeline right to the dining car. We were really looking forward to that experience too. And then the Vigo school days. So I'm actually going to have the students talk a little bit more about their experiences.
Hi everyone, my name is Jamie Buffington and I'm a freshman here at Monomoy. I want to thank everyone here for coming tonight and for approving this trip about this time last year. Going on an exchange trip to Spain changed a lot of things in my life, specifically my perception about the cultures around the world. While in Spain, I had the opportunity to enjoy Spanish food, music, and the typical life. I made so many great friends who were so hard to part from. Thanks to this experience, I was able to learn firsthand that Spanish is not a textbook language that lives in the classroom. It is a beautiful language and a magnificent culture that people live every day, and I was fortunate enough to take in part in the joy they so generously shared. I gained so much from going on the exchange trip. I learned to really be independent and thrive in an abnormal situation, a chance I couldn't get here in Harwich. I not only enhanced my Spanish-speaking skills, but conversational techniques I use every single day. I got the opportunity to spend time and get to know kids in my own school who I would never have spoken to if it had not been for this trip. I got to experience how beautiful the world we live in truly is for the first time, and to do it with friends made it even better. I gained a tremendous amount of respect for the exchange students we have every year at Monomoy, and for the kids here who speak English as their second language every single day. It made me realize how much effort they put into everything they do, and do not receive enough credit for all their hard work. Before this trip, I never stopped to think that right in this moment, there are millions of other people experiencing life in a completely different way than I am. Spending time with Spaniards about the same age as I gave me a chance to learn about their country in a way that a textbook, an article, or a video could ever possibly do. I learned the best time to go to the beach and eating pizza while watching the sunset, which bar to go to watch soccer matches, depending if you support Barcelona or Real Madrid, and I learned what everyday life was like halfway across the world. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had a serious revelation. Everyday events most of us do in America, like eating dinner with families every night or devoting our time to schoolwork or jobs, all shape my life. They shape most of our lives. I always assumed that was the way the world lived, but I found out firsthand that I was wrong. Kids tend to spend more time during the week with friends and family. They don't pour all of their energy into writing essays or figuring out math equations, and they really don't speak English all of the time, which, believe it or not, was the biggest shock of all once I arrived. But these differences, these abnormalities for you and me, don't make one place or person or culture above the other, but they make our lives great. They make the world great. Leaving Spain, my conjugation still wasn't perfect, and I didn't know all the Spanish vocabulary to get me through airport security, but I learned so many things that are so much more important than all of that. I hope that other language teachers here at not only Monomoy, but at neighboring schools on Cape Cod recognize the benefit to this experience and seize the opportunity Ms. Hoff and Ms. Chiswick chase after for us. Thank you to Ms. Hoff, Ms. Chiswick, the school board, and Monomoy teachers, faculty, and families who supported us along the way. I ask that you give us another chance to learn more beyond the classroom walls and beyond field trips that are a bus ride away. From a kid who did not realize there was so much to learn about the world around her, I ask you to please give us another opportunity to accomplish more and learn more than I ever thought possible. Thank you.
That was beautiful, Jamie. Thank you so much. So, very poignantly stated, we created and forged some amazing relationships. The school culture was very inviting. They integrated us into many different classrooms to help with the students. It remained completely educational the entire time we were there. There wasn't really any idle time where we were sitting doing idle activities. It was always very guided and point-driven. The school days were great, but they were also mixed in with some local visits to some of the older parts of their town, or like the Ocastro here was where the first settlers came. We went to a couple of museums while we were there, and again, the most amazing thing that we noticed was the entire community, the school, everybody came together to provide these free resources for us. We had free tour guides and wonderful tours. We learned about some handmade artifacts that are, from this area, some great history about the heritage. We took a visit to the town hall, the mayor's office, and the police station. Again, welcomed with open arms, and really learned a lot about more of their municipal organization. Then we went to to Santiago de Compostela, which is a very famous location where it's kind of the culmination of a religious pilgrimage. That there are many routes to take to Santiago de Compostela. One that starts in France and then goes through the northern part of Spain all the way to the west coast, and it's usually done on foot, and usually participants will camp along the way. It can be a very humbling and a minimalist type of activity where people get to know themselves better. The students who were at the school were very excited to teach us about the Turkish art of paper marbling, and they had their instructions in English. They were leading us in the project. We were all engaged. It was very, very fun activity. make these designs, and then we scraped off we used shaving cream and paint, and we scraped off the paint, cut up the piece of paper, and they laminated them so we all have a memento of a bookmark from this event. Then we went and visited the Maritime Museum and the Old Town, and we learned a little bit more about the history of the maritime area. And also the students, I loved that the students were given tasks in the Old Town where they had to, one of these tasks was to measure the height of a light pole with a mirror and a cloth tape measure. So we weren't just standing around looking at each other, we were actually learning history, math, art, science, the whole gamut. Then we took a ferry ride over to a peninsula that's across the bay from Vigo, and we learned about, it's a small fishing community, and I really loved the history behind these houses here. These were the fishing houses. To the right of the stairs is where they keep all their nets, and underneath the stairs is where they kept their chickens. And the red line there is usually paint left over from when they painted their boats. So they were very efficient with their supplies. And then, of course, every student and the teachers as well, each of us had a very unique experience. Some of us went to Portugal for lunch one day, and some of us went to the hot springs one day, and the homestay part of it, you were very much part of the family, and we had a lot of observations about the connectedness that the friends and the family made, like Jamie had mentioned, that they're engaged with you completely, not really sitting at the table on the phone, or everyone's together, a lot of togetherness. And just before I close up, I just wanted to know if anybody else had any observations about their personal experiences of living with the families. Are there any questions? Comments? Yes.
All right. Did students stay with the same student family that stayed with them?
We were so grateful that they came first. The first time we've ever done this, and they've had years and years of experience doing these types of exchanges, so it was old hat for them, but we were thrilled. We had made those deep connections with Skyping, communicating, writing ahead of time. Then they came in November. We showed them around, they lived with us, and we actually stayed with those same people. So we had already established a very strong connection with them. And we were really looking forward to going back and being with them, for them to show off their town, their families, and everything.
That's great. Ms. Richardson.
I don't have the words. This was a wonderful, wonderful experience. Just for my own benefit and future, what was the cost of this trip?
Is it 23?
Oh.
Yeah, 23 something.
No hotels.
For hotels and all of the, Madrid was expensive. I mean, staying in downtown Madrid, we didn't have all of our meals paid for, but we had 2 of them during that time. The train ride, the flight, everything.
I still think it's a bargain. I was just wondering why the other trip was $2,700. That's all right. No, it's.
Mr. Russell?
And that's true. We were only in a hotel for 2 nights, but including the train trip and all the ground transportation transfers and whatnot, it really was a deal. I do agree. Yeah.
Mr. Russell?
As a grandfather of one of the boys that went, all I've heard was praise from the boy that visited, in this case, Trevor, during the Thanksgiving break, as well as his return. It was a first experience going to Europe, and I think what a tremendous opportunity that is. I want to commend the 2 boys also for their prudence. The moral of the story is never follow a young woman who is so well prepared and articulate. Well said, boys.
Ms. Stout?
I would say that I really value this trip so much because it's not just the tourists seeing, museums and different things that they could do later in life. The homestay part and the being in the school with the kids part, I think that kind of culture is, you can't replace that. You can't, as an adult, at least not in any way I know, go and stay like that. And so I'm sure that will stay with them.
Thank you so much for saying that. We do have one student in the group who is an only child, and she created such a strong relationship with her host sister that she really feels as if they are sisters now, and she's actually bought tickets to go back in the summer and stay the summer with her. So these are lifetime friendships and relationships that they've built. I think it just opens so many doors, a great networking opportunity for the future as well.
Excellent.
I have a daughter who did a type of trip on AFS many years ago, and she goes back every other year to visit the families there. So it is sometimes lifetime.
I do want to follow this up with, we did ask this, I created a survey just so I could get some feedback from the participants' families and students on, what they liked, what we could improve, because we are hoping to do this again and hoping to always improve. And I think we received some valuable feedback on, the time of year that they're able to come is not always, ideal, but it depends on the way that you look at it. It offers them more opportunities to spend time together around the Thanksgiving break. Although most places are closed around here and the weather's not great, but there's just so many more opportunities. So we are hoping to forge more relationships and more community support. We really want to be able to reciprocate the amazing opportunities they provided to us when they come back again. And so we will, if we are able to do this again, we really will be reaching out into the community for some extra support to give them a similar experience, at least up to their caliber.
Okay. Any other questions? Now, Ms. Hoff, you're looking for us to approve the exchange program again, just so you can get things started, or anticipation of a trip?
Yes, we would like to, I think we're looking at, right now, we feel comfortable with like an every other year type of experience. It just takes that much planning to organize and work with people in the community to secure funding for something like this. So we would like to request approval for the Spaniards to come again in 2018, and that we would go over again, whichever students are interested in participating, go over again in April of 2019.
Okay. So I think we can kind of give a consensus vote that we would support it, but we would need to come back to vote on the actual trip that you choose to go in 2019.
Oh, okay.
I think, because we don't have any details on that trip, so that would be something we would need to follow up on next spring. But I think we can say whether or not we would support the idea, so you can do the planning.
Yes.
Is that good enough for now?
That's great.
Okay, so would somebody like to make a motion to support the concept of the program for the 2018-2019 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let your planning begin.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Very nice job.
Thank you.
All right, so we move along to less fun stuff. Ms. Isernio with some FY17 budget transfers. Did you get to go on a trip with the transfer? Guess that's a no.
Katie Isernio, Business Manager. In your packets and sent to you were the budget transfers, the preliminary budget transfers. There will be some more as the year rapidly comes to a close. Some additional information was then sent along to hopefully provide some more detail as to the nature of the transfers and the need for the transfers. And I'm wondering, after we, if anyone has any questions, then I want to just talk about going forward the process of the transfers.
Any questions about said transfers? Ms. Ryder?
Yes, on the first transfer, where you're transferring money into business and finance, other salaries, and district info management, other salaries, is all of that sick leave buyback, or is there something else contained in that? There's a 2923 amount and a 19495.
And then the other had to do with then the second person's salary. So there was one person leaving sick leave buyback, and then the addition of another salary coming into that.
Is this a new position, or is this the position filling the one where the person left?
The position filling the one where the person left. So the bulk of that is sick leave buyback, and then there was a salary adjustment coming in.
So the person that came in had a higher salary, presumably, or something?
So we had to have the balance of the one contract paid out for the retiree.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sending the details on this. I appreciate that. So I had a question on some of the details on these three transfers.
Sure.
Okay. So on transfer number 1, you have budgeted 70,000, balance 43,000. Does that mean that's the remaining balance, 43,000?
There's the remaining balance in that legal line. And then that's where we were taking the 25 out of that.
Right, okay. So my question is, we budgeted $70,000 and we used hardly any of it?
Well, it's a good thing. We were able to do a lot of our contract negotiations without the services of our attorney present, where in past years we've had to have an attorney there. So we were able to save the district some funds in that way.
So this $70,000 budgeted, of which not much was used, what are we going to do going forward on this item? What's the budgeting going to be? Are we budgeting at $70K every year, or are we budgeting it more like, 20-something, which is closer to actual?
Actually, when we budgeted the $70,000, that was actually about $25,000 than what we had the previous year. And when we do the budget process, literally we take a ruler and go across the the account lines and say what has been expended. And then we do talk about what's coming up, like where we are with teacher contracts and things like that, what may impact the budget. And as we're growing and learning, now that we're almost 5 years done, we have a better sense of what those costs are. They were the original budget numbers were based on when we first were regionalized, and we had the services of the attorneys quite a bit because we were bringing together the contracts, and there was so much time spent with that. But now that we're just fine-tuning contracts, we don't need that level of legal advice.
Okay. So what's going to happen to the remainder that's in that account?
It just goes to we'll fold into E&D at the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you on that one. Transfer number 2. You have a budgeted amount and a balance amount in it doesn't have a title.
The independent evaluations?
No, the other one.
Oh, right.
General supplies.
Yeah.
So we're showing we have almost, 9,000 something excess in general supplies. May I suggest that instead of having the parents have to provide things like glue sticks and tissues at the elementary school, perhaps some of that could be used to cover that. I think that because we're paying tax dollars, all of us as a community, and it's especially a hardship on lower income families to be told to provide, as I said, glue sticks, tissues, pencils, markers, that sort of thing, that maybe we could put some of that there.
I agree.
Question on transfer number 3. Thank you. If I'm understanding these line items, the budget and the balance, we're looking at between 28% and 80% over budget on these? Is that right?
Are you asking on the balance, or?
Well, the balance is what's left or what was used?
What's left.
That's what's left, okay. So I'm curious on some of these that are quite far out of whack, how that might have happened.
Well, some of them, the heating just has to do with the nature of, how cold, how long, how expensive heating costs are. So some of those are just, we budget for worst case in that situation. The last one, there is a large balance in the maintenance of building contracted services. That's here at the high school.
That one, yeah.
And we did go out to bid, if you remember, for the maintenance for the rooftop units. But at the time we were going out to bid for that, we received more favorable bids than what we had anticipated. And actually, those bids even ranged $40,000 in the receipt of those. So we were budgeting for worst case, and also having to do with what the costs were for most of the maintenance on the mechanical systems here at this high school. That was still an unknown with an ongoing building project.
So does that explain both the equipment maintenance contract service and the maintenance of buildings contract service? We've got a 30 and a 22 there. Is that related to both?
The 11 is at the middle school, so that we were able to do, it's also a benefit and a tribute to some of our custodial staff that are able to do some of the things that in the past we contracted out, like changing out filters for the univents, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. Yeah, frankly, I was just surprised to see that we had over budgeted quite a bit on the heating. I didn't realize that this winter was so much warmer than last, but perhaps it was.
We've also done some really good energy efficiency things and trying to button up things and make our program our heating systems, maintaining the boilers a little bit better. So I think it's all just being good tenants.
Great, so we can budget less in the coming years.
Exactly.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so we're looking for a motion to do 3 separate transfers.
Please.
Anyone want to dive in? Please.
I
Mr.
move
Duvall.
that we transfer from account 1,030, 1430, 410, 119, 005, 0824, so $26,692. We transferred to
Nope. Say it again.
$26,692.
Right.
Thank you. We transfer that to 1,030, 1210, 100, 105, 005, 0721, in the amount of $4,182. Account 1,030, 1410, 200, 150, 005, 0782, the amount of $2,923.92. Account 1,030, 1450, 300, 160, 005, 0863, the amount of $19,495.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That's unanimous. Mr. Duvall.
I move that we transfer from account 1,030, 2,800, 410, 603, 002, 3584, 7,886.49, and from account 1,002, 2430, 500, 400, 001, 3535, $9,621.69 to substitute regular day 1,002, 2325, 300, 400, 001, 3470, $17,508.18.
Thank you. And a second? And a second?
I second it.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. And Mr. Duval?
I move that we transfer from account 1,002-4120-633-773-005-1576, the amount $18,110.10. Also from account 1,022-4120-633-773-005-1576, the amount of $28,000. From account 1,030-4130-637-775-005-1586, the amount of $11,238.42. And from account 1,030-4230-400-800-005-1626, the amount of $17,700. And from account 1,011-422-0-600-800-005-1605, the amount of $33,048.57. And from account 1,022-422-0-800-005-1604, the amount of $109,023.83. To account 1,000-305-200-728-005-1662, the amount of $217,120.92.
And a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous as well. Thank you, Ms. Iserdio and Mr. Duval. You've done your duty for the night.
Nancy?
Yes, ma'am.
Next committee meeting is our last one to move things around before the year starts, is that correct?
We have until July 15th to
Oh,
close
July
up, so the meeting in July, and I wanted to just sort of speak to that. So we reached out to several colleagues to ask, how do the budget transfers are typical, and especially at year end, to ask how did they handle budget transfers, and many same way at end of the year, but then there's others that on a quarterly basis, when they can, there will always be year-end, well, there may more likely than not be year-end transfers, but then looking at it, if we look at it more on a quarterly basis, if we can kind of chunk things out quarterly and then just keep things. So that's gonna be my goal for next fiscal year, which starts in a few short days.
I like the idea, at least to do twice, because of some of these larger amounts. If we are sure that we're not going to be having to move
Exactly,
it back.
that's exactly right, because you don't know, you're one snowstorm away or one frozen coil away from.
So I'm just wondering about the comment that Karen made about the general supplies, because I've heard that from parents also about how difficult it is for some parents to contribute those supplies. Is there some kind of way, because it will be putting it back into an area, I assume.
Right.
Do you think maybe principals or somebody could give some input into what that is, the amounts?
I think this would be we have the Monomoy administrative team meetings that we call a MAT meeting, and I think this would be a wonderful agenda item for that, because these two towns do support these schools very greatly. So that would be a good conversation, I think, for a MAT meeting.
And I think if Sam and Robin could get some feedback as to how, I don't have a good pulse on what families do bring in. I know I have my own children over the years who have gone out and shopped for the glue sticks and wipes and this, that, and the other. But I think if we can get a feel for what that help looks like, and then we can come up with a value of what we need to do to completely offset it.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you. And next up is the school lunch recommendations, which we have in our packets.
And what I just want to say, that this packet, this conversation, we can have as lengthy or as little conversation. The decision does not have to, the vote does not have to take place tonight, so just keeping an eye on the clock. You know, we can, depending on what kind of questions people have, if anything, this can carry over to another meeting, but hopefully we could just wrap it all up.
Okay. Is there a brief presentation about it, or just the fact that what we received at our...
Do you want me to just do a quick narrative?
Very quick?
Oh, very quick. So, so in your packets, there's a page that has sort of the price adjustment calculator. On this one, we're required to bring our lunch prices up to at least $2.65. If we don't, then we would be needing to offset the costs of lunches out of the operating budget. There's a recommendation that is that's included in the a little memo that Garth has put together, our food service director, where we are recommending breakfast at all schools moving up from $1 to $1.50. The price of breakfast has been the same for Chatham and Harwich for the past 15 years. We had, last time when we had your packet, we had a suggestion that lunches increase to $3 over currently $2.55 to increase from $2.55 to $3. In conversation with the chair and vice chair, we actually thought that maybe looking at one of the other pages that you have that has a comparative of lunch prices throughout the Cape, it looked like many of the districts actually charge a slightly cheaper amount for elementary school lunches because there's less food that is part of an elementary lunch. So we thought that that if we were to come in alignment with most Cape districts, to have an elementary lunch price of $2.75 and a middle school, high school lunch price of $3.75, $3, sorry, would have us in line with many of the school districts on the Cape, and I would say on some level mean that we wouldn't have to be here next year, hopefully having a discussion about this. But also, I think it's been interesting to, at times, be able to be part of the wellness conversations and the wants to see us increasing some of the things in the lunches, like to see more fresh produce, or to see yogurt parfaits for more protein at breakfast. So some of that's in the memo that Garth talks about. If we have slightly higher prices that we're charging for our meals, we can also elevate some of the quality of what is in the meals for the kids too. Is that short enough?
That was pretty short. Any questions? Ms. Ryder?
Not a question, just a comment. I can't believe we've had the same price for breakfast for 15 years. Oh my God. I think this is totally reasonable, and especially if this is going to allow us to introduce some new and better foods. It's more variety. I think this is great.
Thank you. Ms. Stout?
And I just want to echo that and thank Garth so much, because the idea of breakfast sandwiches and a parfait and less sugary things, I think that's wonderful.
I thought of you
We're doing our
for
job.
each of those. I thought of you.
You know it. Thank you.
All right, so would anybody like to make a motion? I'm sorry, was there any other conversation or discussion or questions? Yes, Ms. Isernio?
I just want to mention, a year from now, we still may be back, because there's a calculation that the federal government gives us that we have to stay in line with. They can only mandate that you increase by 10 cents, but if depends on the reimbursable amount that they pay for free meals. So there's a slight possibility we will be back a year from now saying we need to adjust the price still, but it won't be as large of an increase.
Okay, thank you. Anybody like to make a motion? Mr. Russell?
Garth, what will this do to the famous spaghetti pie?
We haven't had spaghetti pie this entire year.
I've missed it.
I did make one at home.
And you're going to follow that with a motion, Mr. Russell? Yes? Maybe?
Certainly. I would move that we accept the recommendations of the, would it be the Wellness Committee as well as the Director of Food Service? Recommendation of the Director of Food Service as outlined on the document.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous as well. Thank you very much. Last up on the discussion is just subcommittee assignments. Did not ever forward a complete list. I think what we did on that list after conversation was complete. I am looking to do a little bit of a shift in terms of subcommittees being called subcommittees, because a lot of things that we had on the list were not actually subcommittees. They were liaisons. And then I actually was thinking of doing something along the lines of a representative. So somebody like the building committee, it's a representative of the school committee on the building committee. So that's just kind of more semantics than any changes. But if everybody can kind of give me their thoughts as to what they would like to be on as subcommittees and can kind of compile those, and then at the next meeting can have a draft of, I mean, my guess is that people are going to choose things that they have either been on, and it's usually pretty well split up in terms of not having to fight over positions on the policy subcommittee. So if just at some point before you leave, if you could give me an idea as to what you would like to be on as a subcommittee, and then we'll have a discussion about it at our next meeting to kind of reassign all the subcommittees, representatives, and liaisons to other committees. Ms. Up.
So I'm interested in your points about the representative or liaison, because it's like, I was a liaison to the former middle school project there.
Correct.
And in that way, I was a non-voting, but only there, whatever. But on other things like the wellness committee, say, we have to be
Right, you're a representative of, you would be a representative.
Full vote
Right.
kind of person. So it would be interesting later as we talk more about that to see what's what.
I'll be happy to send it. I wasn't 100% ready to send it out for tonight, but just a brief description of what I came up with, and it has to be okayed by everybody here. A subcommittee would be a small group of the school committee, less than a quorum, tasked with bringing recommendations for committee action, which is basically what we do now for subcommittees. Representatives would be a school committee member who is a member of a larger committee requiring school committee representation, such as the collaborative, the wellness committee, building committee, stuff like that. And then liaisons are just school committee members who are responsible for being the communication link between our school committee and another school committee and group. For example, the Board of Selectmen and Finance liaison, so that we have a communication with them and any legislation links. So that's kind of where my idea was going. Again, it's my idea. It has to be approved by everybody here to make sure that you guys are okay with it. But that's general gist.
Thanks.
Okay, Ms. Ryder.
Maybe you were planning on doing this, but just a suggestion, maybe you can send out the list and who's requested each before the meeting, so we have it, so we can discuss, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll get it sent out once I get everybody's back.
Yep, okay, cool.
All right. And so on to then subcommittee reports. Would anybody like to update on the wellness or the policy subcommittee? Ms. Ryder?
Policy subcommittee met to talk about the wellness policy. We have a final draft which we are ready to present to the school committee. Should be doing that hopefully next week.
Okay.
That draft actually was reviewed by the entire wellness committee. They put in some changes, and then we basically approved the changes with some discussion. And that's it.
Very good. Thank you. And then on to Mr. Carpenter's very brief superintendent's report so that I can keep my promise.
The superintendent would like to pass in order to go to the concert.
Fantastic.
Wow.
positive best report yet. All right, so then we do have a couple of action items. We need to approve the Chatham Elementary School improvement plan that Ms. Millen presented to us at our last meeting.
I move we vote to approve the school elementary improvement plan for Chatham Elementary School.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. And then also, we are looking to approve the Chatham Elementary 2017-2018 handbook that we were presented at our last meeting.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, discussion? All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous as well. Just quickly, very quickly, in order to get the wellness policy moving and have our first reading, in addition to a couple other very small, brief items, we will be having a meeting next Thursday, June 15th, here at 6:30, in addition to, therefore, the 22nd. So we will have 3 wonderfully brief meetings
23rd.
in a row.
23rd, I think, right? Is our other one?
23rd,
Yes.
22nd?
22nd.
I'm zapping by 7, so make sure I'm correct. 8th, 15th, 22nd? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
sorry.
Yes, sir?
Madam Chair, I have listed here also on the 15th
Yeah.
at 5:15, the superintendent midterm evaluation subcommittee meeting.
The superintendent evaluation subcommittee was going to have a brief meeting prior to our school committee meeting. So we'll meet that subcommittee
So we'll meet here.
Right, that'll be coming out to you shortly, as well as the agenda that will start at 6:30 here next Thursday. Sound good? Yes, ma'am.
I'm just confused. When there are subcommittee meetings, does that information come out to all members or just the members of the committee?
Usually just to the members of the subcommittee.
Could I request that it come out to all of us in case we have a particular burning interest in just being a fly on the wall?
As I say, just remember that when you're not a member of the subcommittee, you
Right.
can't speak as
Right.
you
Unless
just can
you have
listen.
an open, whatever time. Yes, thank you.
Right, and we have to be careful of quorum at subcommittees, which
Yeah.
is why we want to keep subcommittees less than a quorum, so.
Right, I understand that. I got that information. But you can have the whole committee there as long as they don't participate.
Don't talk.
That's right.
Okay, any other questions? I'd like to look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
We are adjourning at 8:04. Thank you very much.